Hello, my loyal subscribers. Here's the next installment of my Tim Burton series. For this video, I'm reviewing a classic Tim Burton film that is truly timeless and definitely one of my most favorite films of his, and is definitely in my top 3 of my favorite movies of Tim Burton's. This and Beetlejuice are neck and neck with each other for me. And that movie is the very first collaboration between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, the first of many. This movie, Edward Scissorhands. Gosh, what I can't believe about this movie was that it's 26 years old. It came out in 1990, 5 years before I was born. Gosh, it's definitely a film that has aged greatly. So many of the effects, the plot, the story, everything about it is great. And as I said before, the cast of this movie is Johnny Depp as Edward, and in supporting roles is Winona Ryder, who plays his love interest. I believe her name, Kim. Kim is her name. And then there's also her mom, Peg, and the dad, played greatly by Alan Arkin. And also the guy who invents Edward Scissorhands, because I think he's like the mix of a human and a machine put together, is played by none other than horror legend Vincent Price. And here's all the cast of the supporting cast right here. So anyway, the basic plot of this film is there's this one man who invents Edward because he's like a human and a machine put together, and he meant to give him hands, like actual hands, because he was like used to help like this little like cookie making machine or whatever. But before he could finish Edward, he passed away from a heart attack, so Edward was forever unfinished. So anyway, Edward lives in the guy's mansion forever. Like, he basically grows up in the mansion, and yeah, that's basically what happens. And at the very beginning of the film, Peg, I believe she's a real estate agent, and she also sells some products and stuff. Or no, wait, she wasn't a real estate agent. She's a door-to-door saleswoman. So she goes thinking that the guy still lives there to go sell the stuff to him, and she stumbles upon Edward. And that's basically the basic plot of this film. It's the meat and the potatoes. It's kind of like a fish out of water type story, and you can just tell Tim Burton put his all into this film. It's a very personal and just overall heartwarming film, and just it has a real great story about love, family, friendship, all the things that really make a movie timeless. And that's why I say it's one of his best movies. So anyway, Edward goes back to her house, meets her family, and he meets Kim, and oh my gosh, when he meets her, it is so funny. He sees her. His reaction is very similar to E.T.'s from E.T. when he meets Drew Barrymore, Gertie, when she's all screaming, and E.T.'s all screaming too. It's so funny, like, he sees her, and he's all like, oh, oh! He just runs away and screams. And that's another thing too I gotta give kudos to for Johnny Depp in this movie. He doesn't have that many lines. Like, if I think I remember hearing correctly, he only spoke like 140, maybe 130 words. So he was basically like Mad Max in this movie. He didn't really talk that much, and frickin' yeah, he just barely talked, and he didn't have much dialogue. But boy, when Edward had to speak, he spoke when he needed to speak. So anyway, basically that's the plot of this film, and anyway, some major spoilers in the film is Edward tries to adjust to society because, yeah, he's in the human world now, so he's trying to just be normal like everyone else, but everyone thinks he's weird because he has scissors all over his hands. And that leads to one great scene in the film where he basically clips all the hedge mazes around the frickin' neighborhood where the family lives, and all their neighbors and stuff, and all the women fall in love with him because he can like cut their hair and make their hair look all cool and stuff. And oh my gosh, at least the one funny scene where there was this one woman who tried seducing him. He's all just sitting there all calm like this, and then his eyes just bulge, and he's all like, he just does the same thing he did in the other scene when he first met Kim. He screams and runs away. But yeah, that's the other thing too I like about this movie. It has a good balance of comedy, drama, it's just it's just overall a great film, and yeah, it's definitely one of the best films of the '90s, and for sure one of Tim Burton's best movies. That is for sure. And I am so glad he has officially stated he's never making a sequel to this movie. I mean, Beetlejuice, a sequel could work, but with Edward Scissorhands, there's nothing left to do. There's really nothing you can do. It's done. Yeah, it's completely done. But yeah, anyway, so Edward also kind of becomes a celebrity due to his hands and whatever, and he learns the dark side of fame, and he gets caught up in Kim's dickbag boyfriend's scheme to like rob one of his rich neighbor's houses, and leads to a real interesting scene where he tries to steal it, and the cops all saying, "Put your hands behind your head," and he's all just holding him up, and the neighbors had to basically come in and save him. Otherwise, he was going to get shot. And he's all telling him, he can't do it, he can't do it. And frickin', yeah, and then that leads to a real great scene where Alan Arkin completely shined, where he's all saying, "So, Edward, you see a briefcase on the street, what do? He's basically treating him about being a good, teaching him how to be a good citizen and stuff. It's a real great and funny scene. Another scene, too, that had some pretty good comedy in it, too, was when Edward was trying to eat dinner because his hands were nothing but scissors. He was, like, trying to frickin', like, eat and get all the butter over his bread and stuff. And the little brother in the film, I forgot his name, but he was so funny. He said, "Hey, Mom, can I take him to show and tell with me? I think all my friends would really like it." But, yeah, that was pretty dang good, and the climax of the film is another real interesting one too, because throughout the film Edward uses his hand cutting talents to help there be snow in this town because he cuts through the ice and stuff, and Kim begins to fall in love with him. She breaks up with her boyfriend, and frickin' after that just leads to as you'd imagine, Edward falls in love with her, but at one point in the film, Edward just has a complete freak-out moment where he just goes berserk, and he rips off the clothes that he was wearing to make himself appear normal back to his original attire, and yeah, he frickin' just, because there was a misunderstanding between him, and I think he like accidentally stabbed the little brother, and just goes on this rampage, and he showed one of the other practical uses of his scissor hands. He punctured the tires of Kim's dickbag boyfriend's car. It was pretty dang cool how he did that. Definitely a practical use of them. So, yeah, anyway, frickin', so that was definitely a real interesting scene. And then this leads into the climax of the film when Edward is, he gets in the fight with Kim's boyfriend, and he basically stabs him right in the stomach and kills him, but he falls out the window. And Kim grabs one of the other claw hands of Edward and tries to make it like Edward died in the fight too. She kisses him for the last time, but he basically had to abandon her for the betterment of the people and stuff. So it was just a real sad and touching moment in the film, and the film's told all through narration because an older Kim is basically telling her granddaughter everything that happened throughout this whole film, so that helped give it more of an emotional punch. And I gotta say, this movie, I think this movie and Beetlejuice, and probably, I gotta say, just because I have a strong personal connection with it, Nightmare Before Christmas is 3 too, and tied with Nightmare Before Christmas also is frickin' Sleepy Hollow. This is definitely up there. I gotta say, if I had to pick my favorite Tim Burton movies right now, I'm pretty sure number 1 would be Beetlejuice. Number 2 would probably be Edward Scissorhands. 3, his Batman movie. 4, Sleepy Hollow. And 5, Nightmare Before Christmas. Actually, flip that. 4 is Nightmare Before Christmas, then Sleepy Hollow, which are some other upcoming reviews, because I am trying to get in these Tim Burton reviews, because he did just come out with Mr. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I just love the guy. He's a great director, and I've really become to love his style, because he has a really unique style that I really love from his movies. So anyway, my obviously, as you can tell, my rating for Edward Scissorhands is 5 Durans out of 5 Durans. This movie is great, truly a timeless classic, and it was my pleasure to review it for you. All right, well, I hope you liked this video. Like it if you like it, comment, and subscribe for some more awesome content like this. Peace.